So they start changing the types of programs. Number one, they start having programs of so-called intellectuals from Europe and everywhere. And they would complain to me, Talibzade would complain. They're giving us trouble with the people with. I said, the people, those are non-revolutionary. They ain't them people. You ain't gonna hear nothing from them when they go back to, what's the name? And then the other people, the Negroes, I would be there, it'd be a Negro big camera outfit from Germany, but Negroes from here. So I would drop a few points every now and then to the white folks and to sit down and say, yeah, the national Negroes are tattletale. And they would get mad. They would be mad. It would only be because either they're too stupid to know that what I'm saying is the truth, and they're shallow in American history, and they don't forget that if you participated in having Malcolm assassinated, and you are number 2 man, all that you got, you know what I mean, and you don't never have no trouble with the government, right? The national Negro don't, you ever hear me? He don't have no trouble. And neither do any other the regional Negroes. And neither do any other the regional Negro Muslim, right? Mellow Yellow now, and Siraj, I don't know the rest of his name, those people don't have no trouble with, how in the hell, excuse my language, how don't nobody have trouble with me, with the United States government? Nobody. They don't have no trouble unless they're setting up some of the slow Negroes, right? So what I'm doing now is just putting all of a certain thoughts together because we're going into a new phase. And so anyway, I mention that because I do many things to find out where people's coming from. I don't have a big research organization or nothing. So a lot of stuff we have here is example about this time. So I'm looking at the Iranian relations is beginning to change a little bit, or the guys that stayed here. They're at the Daftar over there, they're beginning to treat me a little different. You know what I mean? Now I'm going to the Daftar continuously to educate them or to keep them up on what's going on in America. But they are slowly trying to get rid of Negroes. Like they used to have tons of Negroes around when they first had all this stuff here 40 years ago. And the last 2 to leave was Salahuddin out there, and I'll tell you his other name, the brother taught Arabic. Yeah. He's a good brother. Huh? Hussein was working there when I first came here in '89. And Hussein his job was, they got rid of all other Negroes. So Hussein was cleaning the toilets and stuff. Now my idea was, for khidmah, for work or programs, I'll do just like I do here. I'll clean toilets or anything else. It don't make no difference. For free. But you can't hire me over there and you know what I mean? They couldn't hire me to do that, but I'd be happy to do it if it's just we're having a program, bathrooms need to be cleaned, that don't make no difference. For free, but that's the job, y'all in the office and all that, and you gonna give a nigga a job cleaning the toilets? Absolutely not. Later on he started working at the school. But when I first came here, he was still at the Daftar, at the office. I'm going to get to these points. I'm just trying to draw a picture of contact and connections. So pretty soon, when I'd go to the doctor, the director, or what have you, he would hint, well, we're going to start talking to the Americans, you know. They was already talking to Americans, and Oman, or whatever it was. And I mean, you know, anybody got any sense know that they're already talking to the Americans, leading up to the things that they've done, you know what I mean, somewhat later. So they always have these backdoor things, and now, but they're developing a crew. The United States government is developing a crew out of them. And we told them from day one, back in the early 80s, we said, y'all got to stop talking to the feds. Oh, they just come and talking to them, and then they used to be proud that the FBI comes to talk to them. I said, yeah, but they're gonna get something out of you. It don't make no difference. What? And then all of a sudden, little things start happening, like one of the brothers' mother might have inoperable anything, but they can operate on it in the U.S. You know, that's the way things was in those days. And all of a sudden, his mother gets a chance. That's what the feds give him. They know him. They didn't study all of them. Your mama got such and such a cancer. You just cooperate. And you know, the first cooperation is not big. It's just little. They do it to Palestinians and everybody. But if you give them a little, now they can give that. If they give that to the people gonna add it, gonna multiply it a zillion times. So once you cooperate with them, you in deep, right? You in deep. So all of a sudden, I'm getting into the 90s now. The first 10 years, all in the 80s and all of that. And up to the time Imam Khomeini died in 1989, June 3rd. Up until that time, everybody had to toe a certain line. But within a few years after that time, things are beginning to change. Not only inside of America, but the ones that have stayed, some of them have become American citizens. And I gotta let you become an American citizen if you're Iranian, unless there's some type of agreement. You know, generally. That's where the differences in the people that they invited from here to there came in. Pretty soon, Marzia was sitting right here, good 10, 12 years ago. Well, what are you doing there? Said, well, first of all, was she doing an interview with me? But I'm developing a group of people to talk Negroes. Yes, right. Those are the people you see on Press TV now. Now, who did I know Marzia was? I knew Marzia. She took Shahada in our Masjid in Denver, Colorado in 1982. She became best friends of Javad Zarif and their wife there like this, right now, then. Because he moved from San Francisco, where he was, university out there, to Denver. And he started going to school there, and he finished up his PhD in Denver. That's what Marzia was. Marzia took her Shahada in 1982 in our Masjid. And she acted like the police the day I saw her. The day I saw her. And when her husband died or got killed or run over by, whatever happened to him, he died. And within a year or two, she went on to Iran and got dug in deep And to this day, there's a whole crew that don't trust her from her husband getting killed because her husband was lined up for certain things. And what they told me there, that he started smelling something, and when he started smelling something, they killed him. Or she killed him. I don't know. But he died. That's all I'm saying. He died. He sure did. You don't see me on press TV anymore. And you don't get no analysis. I'm not bragging, but I'm telling you. Have you found any analysis of anything going over there as accurate as what you get here? Consistently. It doesn't happen. It ain't nobody do that. They know they don't have nobody to do that. And part of their Tehran University things was technically it was to do away with me, that they have a group. They got a good group there. They got a good group. They didn't study this. Of experts. If you listen to Mirandi, which at the last 2 programs when he was there, he never talked to me. And I said, okay, I'll just pull back and see. You know.
I learned just from listening to him, and maybe this has something to do with it, was that he's not a Ahmadinejad supporter.
I was going to get to that. Who do you think might run for president here? You been seeing that? Good God Almighty. I'm telling you. What happened is these different crews. I say Walayat Faqih. I'm for the Islamic Republic. Straight out, flat, no team. They are, and I told them you can't do that, they're for their team. Right? Okay. And I wasn't going to mention all of this until the other day. Okay, we've been talking about this stuff for so long that you have to keep it straight in your head. Okay, when I came back here, I was getting ready to go back to Oakland to finish all of this stuff that I was doing when I went out there. I went out there to do some, but my daughter wanted to go back up to college, and I went up to pick her up or something. Yeah, I went to pick her up in December. Before, the other December. Then on January 3rd, I was going to go back because I had a court date on January the 6th, 2020. And I was going to go back on the 3rd. But then I was going to go back on the 6th or the 5th or something like that. The brother got martyred. And then, you remember what I said? Oh, this is what Najaf and Karbala I was waiting on. Remember I kept telling everybody something I'm waiting on something. Something's getting ready to happen. Everybody's going there and the number is exploding. 20 million, 25, some said even 30 million, I don't know, whatever. So it's 25 million. If it's 3 million people go to Hajj, but 20 million people walking barefooted almost and doing everything. People lining the highways giving food and comfort to the first time when Saddam Hussein was killed like he deserved to be, of course I would sell him, let him live, but they wasn't into that. So it was 4 million people. So I gave a lecture on that. I don't know if you remember. I gave a lecture on that subject of why is 4 million people doing this. Now that sounds like a lot of people at that time. But later on it evolved to 20 million and 25. So, and 30 million. So if it's only 25 million, so if it's only 20 million, there's a lot of people on the move. So remember, I was saying that they got the Americans' number, right? And they don't know it. And they got something going on and they wait. They don't know that there's something to come that will explain why y'all doing all that. And when Soleimani was martyred, you got to think about what I said at the time. I said, that's it. That's why I'm still here, and I never went back. I'm just going to get back in a couple of more weeks, inshallah. But I kept staying and building, and things are, fitting into place. And then think about our discussions. Zarif, who's a foreign minister, when they have a big talk in Syria, he don't go. They told him stay in Tehran with your white friends, with Medea Benjamin and all of them. And it wasn't just all of them, the Indo-Pakistanis, everybody. All of a sudden, I go to a program, I'm the main speaker, and there's Medea Benjamin, and she's on the thing with me, and I'm thinking, this little old white blankety-blank, Zionist girl, is sitting on the thing with me, and I'm the expert here. And it's proved by the stuff she's talking. She just wrote a book on Saudi Arabia. And everybody is, she's the one that they want. She's the one, that's when it's clear what the new policy is. Get rid of Musa, get rid of all the remnants of revolution, and let's bring in the white folks. You could tell about our friend that he was white folks friendly, right? And white folks was him friendly. We was making jokes that he might run for president of the United States or senator or somebody, right? Hey man, it's so clear. This is the thing about keeping score. Expectations, looking ahead and assessing, and having long-range patience. Take your time. You have to be able to take your time. And that's where all this stuff comes in. This assault was to make me run to whatever friends that I might have, right? Because they got everybody surrounded. And the niggas getting help from somewhere. That's the way they're looking at it. This nigga is getting big help. Now remember, Boss Man is watching all this, and he got it almost added up, but it's pieces he can't put together. Who's feeding him these things? Well, the only thing about it, there's certain things missing. Number one, they don't know. Remember we talk about the old time Negro, and there's nobody in the FBI. Remember I used to talk about the old people, and my father was born in 1900, and that mentality of people had a certain thing. They had a way of getting along with Boss Man without getting killed. And making Boss Man feel good. My father was that generation. Muhammad Ali wasn't a hero. Jack Johnson was, because they was all alive. When Jack Johnson won the championship in 1910, they was all jumping up and down. Right? Now, the FBI, in the modern construction, they had stuff to take care of the 60s, but they had nothing to take care of that mentality in 1910, 1920s. They had nothing because They had nothing, the FBI didn't come out till later on. Plus, that thinking. Why are we here right now? Why nobody's dead and then the thing? Because by the time they figured out what was happening, it was too late. They had got whooped. We didn't whoop Boss Man around like he's a damn fool. Yes, we have, right here. And when I finish, you'll see it all the time. Because even when we tell him, he still don't understand, you know. Remember, we done told him, Boss Man, you wasn't up on that stuff then. The new FBI, they had FBI since 1970 and 80 and 90, 2000, 2010, this is brand new FBI. They never had, because they didn't have Negroes in the Bureau in the old days. And none of the white folks had the game on the old-time Negro. Right? Remember we talked about combining black militancy with that earlier period? Remember? We talk about it almost all the time with Islam. Right? And we give proper credit that we have been able to reach where we are now because of those old things. And a few people that had real game recognized it. What did Dr. Kaleem Siddiqui think? Remember what Dr. Kaleem Siddiqui said? He said, Imam Musa, he said, we all aware of racism. We're in South Africa with this thing, right? I mean, it's apartheid. Or the whole group was from, and a few of us from outside had lived under racism. They called them wogs in England, and they, you know, right, a few of the speakers. He says, we know about racism. But he said something that, but whatever it was clear that when this guy gave his talk on racism, this was a whole new deep thing. That's what he seemed to have said. That's what I remember. Now, I hadn't listened to this until later on when he said, and Imam Musa, he said, this guy is the essence of all this good. I said, Doc. Now I had totally forgot about that stuff. But here's what I didn't forget. I didn't forget when we would, I treated Dr. Kaleem Siddiqui like who he was, the